We got some pretty yarn here today. Hello, dear friends, and welcome to episode 6 of the Dear Friend podcast. It's pretty bad, I'm already losing track, but if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Eden. I'm the owner of Yarn Co., where I sell my handmade polymer clay charms and my watercolor paintings. You can find my handmade stuff that I sell at yarnco.squarespace.com, or you can find me on Instagram as yarromail44, or you can find me on Ravelry as yarromail. And also on Ravelry, you can find the Dear Friend podcast Ravelry group, where we are having a make-along, where it is the handmade holiday along, where we make Christmas gifts in advance so that when the Christmas season comes around, we're not scrambling to get stuff done. It goes all year till Boxing Day, December 26th, and on every 25th of the month, I do a little giveaway. We give away some little treats, and for this month, we've got something very special. On June 25th, we'll be doing a giveaway where there will be 3 prizes. It's crazy. And I will talk more about those prizes at the end of the episode. I have one finished object that came right out of the blue. It was totally not planned, but I'm super happy with it and super excited to show you. Okay, so finished object is this cowl. Now this cowl it's been through quite a bit. In 2018, I got the Homespun House Advent Calendar, and I decided I want to do a Cozy Memories blanket with it, which you've seen before on my Instagram and on the podcast. I finished all the squares, and since the minis were 20 grams and each of my squares only took 10 grams, I had 10 grams left over, and I thought I would turn that into a granny stripe blanket. So I started the blanket, and then I decided that I didn't want to do an entire blanket in fingering weight. So I decided to size it down a little bit, and I was gonna make a granny striped wrap. So I made it a tiny bit smaller, and I got this far on it, and then it went into a bag for about a year. And last week actually, I think, I don't know, sometime in May, I found it again with all the minis all tangled up and just this amount done, and I thought about it a lot, and I was like, I'm not gonna finish a wrap. I really won't. So I didn't want to waste all this work that I've done, so I stopped here and I sewed it into a cowl loop, which I think it's hidden pretty well, it's not a crazy change. And so it is now a cowl. And this is 99% a Homespun House yarn, except for these 2 stripes here I made a hat out of. And yeah, I absolutely love this. It's so fun and colorful, and it makes me really happy. And I like how it's nice and warm, but because it's fingering weight, it's really light. It's not hefty or heavy. It's perfect for those springtime chills. You still want to bundle up, but you don't want to bundle up like crazy. Yeah, so I've shown this on my Instagram, and I've worn it so much. I love it. And this next project is kind of a whip slash finished object because technically all of the squares of my Cozy Memories blanket are done. They just need their borders and to be sewn together. I finished my last square, which was all these beautiful blues. Ooh. Yeah, I can't get over how pretty this is. Lately, I've been drawn to like the royal blues, so this is right up my alley. It's so pretty. It's got like some purple in there. And, oh yeah. This is not a homespun house. This is Howl from Dragon Horde Yarn that I got in a sock set that came with like a little mini that was like bright yellow. It was called Calcifer. And I love the movie Howl's Moving Castle, which is a Studio Ghibli movie. So yeah, it went perfectly with my last 3 minis, which happened to be blue. So we got this one. This is all a homespun house. And this is all a homespun house. This is all a homespun house. This one is, this is a Woolen Homestead who don't die anymore, but this is their strawberry rhubarb pie. And then these 3 are Midnight Cravings. I believe that's Cinema, Kelp, I can't remember that one. This is a homespun house. I love this one. Look at that red is so pretty. And this is my very first square that I did out of some random scraps. So let me see here. Licorice Candy from Smith & You. It's been a while, but I made a hat out of this. This is Picnic Kettle Dye from Knit Picks, which is a hawthorn. And then these 2 were scraps that I got from my mom, and I made her a pair of slipper socks out of. And this is Midnight Cravings. This is a Woolen Homestead Mistletoe. And these 2 are a homespun house. And then, last but not least, this is a homespun house. And these colorways, besides non-homespun house colors, didn't have names for 2018. But I am super excited to have this complete after nearly 2 years. Yeah, so the next step is I want to crochet a border around them so they're all a square foot, and sew that together in a 3x3 blanket. So I just gotta find what yarn to do my borders out of. It's so squishy. Like, garter is incredibly squishy. I love it. So that is like a partially finished object. Oh, and this, I'm pretty sure I've said Cozy Memories blanket at least 3 times now, but it's a Cozy Memories blanket by Shelly, who owns Polka Dot Creek. It is a wonderful free pattern that I really loved. It was super soothing just to have this little square to work on whenever you didn't feel like working on a big project. It was super satisfying to do. And you don't have to do it the way I did it. You can make a huge blanket of just squares, but I wanted to do mine in sets of 4 and then put borders around them to really emphasize these colorway squares. Yeah, I can't wait to finally get that done. It's so close to being done after so long, and I hope to do that before I start yet another blanket, which I did a few weeks ago, but I mean another one after this recently started one. I'll show you that next. So my next project I recently started, and it is in this brand new bag. bowl, technically. This is a yarn bowl from the kitchen sink shop, who is absolutely amazing. She does really cool bags. And this is so pretty. I love this. These are like watercolor flowers and watercolor stripes, so it's right up my alley too. I love watercolor fabrics and watercolor in general. It's just so pretty. So, with all the leftover minis from my 2018 advent calendar, I didn't want to turn it into the granny stripe blanket or the granny stripe wrap, and they were all in separate little balls, and from being knocked around in the bag for so long, they got really tangled. And I've been seeing everybody make these beautiful skeins for making blankets with, and I thought, oh, I want to do one of those with all my minis that I had left over. So I made this, and it is so cool. This is like the clean side, and then the slightly messy side. There's always a slightly messy side, and that's okay. And with it, I am making another blanket. I really like doing blankets because, yes, they are a lot of commitment, but at the same time, they feel like they're less of a commitment because it's okay if you put it aside for a while and you can just come back to it later and enjoy it all over again. So this is the Blanket of Calm by Casa Pinka, and for this pattern, usually you just make one small square out of each color and you just make a whole bunch of squares and sew them together. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted just to make one giant square. So I just continued the pattern with all my minis. And so far, it's a very interesting combination. Like, these yarns, I would never think of doing that because I picked all the skeins out of the bag at random without looking, because I wanted it to be really crazy. And I'm loving how light it is. It's gonna be actually nice and warm for like in the spring when you still want a nice layer. It's so cool. The edges are folding a little. I am crocheting this with a 3.25 millimeter or D hook, which is the hook, also prescribed, well, the hook that the pattern calls for. There we go. And yeah, so this is actually fitting perfectly in this little basket because I just fold it up when I'm not working on it and put it right there. It's so pretty. It matches very well. I love this. And it's been my go-to for like when we're watching long movies. Recently, my family has started watching the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings series, which are super duper long. So I've been getting lots of work done on this during those movies. And yeah, so nice. As you can tell, I love it so much. So the next whip, I think is new as well. It's been a while since I did my last podcast. Life just got busy, but now I can podcast again and show off this. I showed this on my Instagram. This is a whip for my the podcasts. I don't know. Words escape me. But for the Handmade Holiday Along, I am making a pair of hats that are exact same. I am making the Barley Hat by Tin Can Knits, which is a free pattern. And I'm holding 2 strands of fingering together. So this is Buddy Bracelets by That Yarn Habit, which is a Friends colorway. So like when Chandler and Joey gets these buddy bracelets and it's a super funny episode, but I decided I want to make a hat with it, and I'm holding it with Pearl from Pineapple Yarn, which is a super pretty like gray. It's a very, very, very light gray, and it's really pretty, and it matches this perfectly. So yeah, the idea is I'm gonna make 2 hats that are exact same, and they'll be like buddy bracelets or buddy hats. Yeah, I'm doing this on size 4mm on my Caspian wood needles from Knit Picks, which I love. I love wooden needles because they go well with a lot of different fibers. And so I'm almost there. I am 2 inches away from doing the decreases. And it actually it doesn't even look like it's marled. It looks like that's just the colorway itself, like the gray mixed in perfectly with this. I'm really happy with that. And the fabric is really nice. I really like holding yarn double or even triple. Just holding yarns together creates a different type of fabric. This one's like more springy than it would be if I were using a worsted weight yarn like the pattern is made for. This is definitely more of a DK with the 2 fingering held together, so I went down a size needle for both the brim and the main body, just so that it wouldn't have too many, like, you couldn't see through it very well. It wasn't too meshy, and I'm very glad I did that because it's the perfect fabric. It's, yeah. So I'm very happy with how that went, and I'm really liking working on a hat. Hats are definitely my favorite thing to work on because they're super, for me, really quick compared to all of my other projects that have been sitting for a long time. I love knitting hats. They're very relaxing to me, and that one is great. It's has a little bit of difference in the knitting and purling section just to keep it a little interesting, but still pretty mindless. So this past week, I really have got the crochet bug. I haven't crocheted in a very long time, but that's how I first started out in making stuff with yarn. I was a huge crocheter. My mom had tried to teach me how to knit because she was a big knitter then and still is today. So she tried to teach me how to knit a square. And that square for me turned out to be a triangle with a huge hole in the middle. And that really discouraged me. So I decided I wanted to try crocheting instead because I had heard that crocheting was easier than knitting. And so I self-taught myself how to crochet and crocheted for a very long time. And then I got back into knitting and learned how to knit a solid square. But I've really wanted to get back to my crocheting. And so I am doing the Sensum sweater by this lady, because I'm not going to even attempt to say her last name because I know I'm going to mess it up, but Linda. And it's so cool. It's this beautiful pullover that is crocheted flat. So I've been working on that and I'm loving it. I am really enjoying being able to have a project that's really fast. So far I've gotten both sleeves done, and yet these are done flat, so it's pretty big. And I decided to do the puff sleeve version because who doesn't want a puff sleeve? It's so cool. And I am starting out in the body. I wanted to do the sleeves first so that I can, one, get them out of the way so that I didn't get sleeve syndrome, and two, work this puff stitch pattern on a smaller scale so I could have a good idea of how to properly do it before I got into the main body of the sweater, which is a little bit trickier. And yeah, it's huge because it's crocheted flat and then you sew it together. It's gonna be like that. What I like about crocheting is that if the hook falls out, no big deal. Your drop stitches aren't gonna go anywhere. And this is Briggs & Little. Where'd the tag go? Oh, here it is. So yeah, this is Briggs & Little Regal, which is a 2-ply, 100% wool. And it is in the colorway Fundy Fog, color 60, lot 714. And I love Briggs & Little because it is 100% wool. It is a tad bit scratchy when working with it, but once it's blocked, it blooms and it softens and it makes a beautiful fabric. So this is going to be incredibly warm, even though it's very lacy. And it'll be really nice when I'm out on the boat with my family because the wool won't get soggy and get really cold. It'll be a nice warm layer. So here it is in the skein. And I had taken this from my mom, who was like destashing, and she had so many of these skeins of Briggs & Little. I think it was 6 in all. And they have about 272 yards. And I wanted this yarn so bad because at the time I was obsessed with unicorns. And this to me was the best unicorn purple I had ever seen because it's got some mixes of blues and a little bit of like magenta in there. And I finally come back to using this yarn. It's been sitting in my stash for a while because I didn't know what I wanted to do with it yet. Now I'm back and I really like it. I'm not as obsessed with unicorns as I used to be, but this still makes me think of unicorns and makes me very happy. So yeah, oh, and I am crocheting this on a 7.5 hook, which is a size down from what the pattern calls for. I didn't actually have the size the pattern calls for, but I probably wouldn't have used it anyways because I wanted my fabric to be a tad bit thicker. It's still pretty see-through, but once it's blocked, that yarn has room to bloom and really fill in those double crochet gaps without taking over the puffs and not being able to see the lacy pattern. So yeah, that is my crochet project that is going by super fast. I finished one sleeve on Friday and one sleeve on Saturday, watching movies, and ooh, that's so thick and squishy. And yeah, I'm loving having a project that's going by super fast, but I'm still enjoying the process. I am very much a process knitter, so I enjoy making stuff, but when the project takes too long, I start getting bored of the process and the project gets put away for a very long time, as you've seen with my blankets and stuff. But that one is going by super fast, so I'm keeping interested and we'll probably have that done by the next episode. So very exciting stuff. And last but certainly not least, and honestly in every episode, my boyfriend's socks. So if you haven't seen these before, I'm knitting a pair of socks for my boyfriend, and I've been had these on every episode. I'm still on the leg. But these are Mrs. Weasley's Family Socks by Molly of Homespun House, Molly Clapp. And I'm making the biggest size plus 2 stitches so that these will fit him for sure. I have a problem with knitting socks slightly too small, and I really didn't want that to happen for these socks. So this is Lupin from Dragon Hoard Yarn, and the hot pink is Barbie from A Homespun House. And I'm doing these on size 2.25 millimeter. I'm doing them 2 at a time, which I'm really happy with. I have been enjoying it a lot. It's probably going to become my favorite way to knit socks. And it's very relieving that these will be done at the same time. I'm not going to get second sock syndrome, and it's going to take forever for me to finish the second one. So these will be done at the same time. And hopefully I'm going to try to finish these before the next podcast. No promises, but I'm halfway through the leg and I need, say, about another 3 inches, and then I can do the cuff. And I love this. Even though it's been going on for a while, I still love working on these socks because the yarn is super interesting with its different shades of blue and green and gray, and then the hot pink contrast is so fun. Yeah, the hot pink was what he asked for with the blue. His favorite color is blue, and it was my suggestion to do something really bright and crazy, and so he's like, do some hot pink. And so we threw that in there, and yeah, I think that's about it. Oh yeah, and my progress keeper is a smoothie that I made. This is a pumpkin smoothie with some whip and a tiny little pumpkin on there and a colorful little cup. So yeah, I hopefully will have those done the next episode. So next up is the moment I'm sure everybody's been waiting for. Got some yarn to show off. Kim from Gingersnap was so generous to send all this yarn as a giveaway prize for the Handmade Holiday Along. So these are going to be 3 different prizes. We've got, sorry for the crinkling, this is Whip It on her Luxe Worsted base, which 100% superwash merino. And then we've got these 3 50-gram skeins on her Zest fingering base. So this is Newsprint, Dusk, and Charm. And this beautiful green fade on Avocado, Limeade, and Olive Grove. These are all on her Zest fingering base. So Kim has such wonderful yarn. Her Zest fingering base is one of my favorites. It's really cool. So yeah, on this June 25th, on this Rudy Day, I'll be drawing 3 different names for these prizes. So head over to the Dear Friend podcast group and join in on that if you want to get your hands on this really cool yarn. All the details are on there, and just post your finished gift knits or gift crochet gifts or sewn gifts all on that, the June Ravelry thread, and I will be giving that away this 25th, so hop on that as quickly as you can because you don't want to miss out on this really awesome yarn. Kim was so sweet and so generous, and she is a very talented yarn dyer. So thank you so much, Kim. And yeah, that is about it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time, dear friends. Bye.